next activity is allocating resources. I mentioned in the first module of this course that resources are anything that improves, advances, or funds a project. This could be things such as time, money, or equipment. The allocating resources activities includes planning and scheduling staff resources. This means breaking down the work schedule and assigning tasks. Making measurements is another important project management activity, which involves tasks like defining, calculating, and analyzing metric data. Metrics are used to track and assess the product and/or the process. These metrics could measure the density of defects in the product, the rate at which your team is completing tasks, the number of features complete, and much more. You will learn more about metrics in the course on reviews and metrics for software improvement. This leads to the next activity of improving process. It is important for you to recognize that, like the product, improvements can also be made to the process itself. It is just as important for you to test and review the process as it is for your development team to test and review the product. You will be able to apply some of the results from your metric data here so that at the next calculation, your process will score better. Kevin is a software product manager for a development team that is working on an ordering app for local takeout restaurants. He has been at home with the flu for the last week. When he returns, he wants to know which of the project management activities have been completed while he was away. He looks around the office and sees a schedule of tasks to be completed and a risk plan dated with yesterday's date. He then logs onto his computer and sees that new task development rates have been entered and that the progress tracking chart is up to date. Which of the following activities does Kevin have to complete? A. Allocating resources. B. Managing risk. C. Performing estimates. Or D. Making measurements. An activity is complete when all input work products are consumed and all output work products are produced. Iteration schedules, risk plans, and progress tracking charts are all output work products for project management activities. Task time estimates are an input work product for performing estimates. Since Kevin only had updated task development rates and not estimates, that activity has not yet used all its inputs and produced all its outputs. Therefore, answer C is correct. Next, let's talk about the specification phase. This phase is often seen as the initial phase. The requirements for the product are determined in this phase. But that does not mean that it only occurs at the beginning of development. The specification phase is revisited often to update and improve the requirements for the product for the rest of development. Activities in the specification phase are covered in the course on software requirements and client needs. The specification activities include identifying ideas or needs, eliciting requirements, expressing requirements, prioritizing requirements, analyzing requirements, managing requirements, and formulating potential approaches. Now let's take a closer look at some of these activities. Identifying ideas or needs is a very important activity in software development. Without an idea, there is no product to develop. Taking time to really think about the product will help to create great software. Once you have an idea, the next step is to work on the requirements. There are 5 requirement activities: eliciting requirements, expressing requirements, prioritizing requirements, analyzing requirements, and managing requirements. You will revisit these requirement activities in more detail in the Software Requirements and Client Needs course. Once you have your requirements in place, you are ready for formulating potential approaches. You are a product manager working for a chain of coffee shops. Your client wants your development team to create an app that allows end users to pay for their coffees with the application. You are working on the Formulating Potential Approaches activity with your development team. What would an input work product be for this activity? A. Estimations. B. Define metrics. C. Internal documentation. Or D. Backlog of requirements. You will use all of these work products at some point in the development process. Estimations are commonly used as inputs when creating schedules. Define metrics are used as input work products when you are calculating and analyzing metrics. Internal documentation is used when developing executable code and tests. You will use the backlog of requirements to formulate potential approaches, since you need to know exactly what you are developing. Therefore, D is the correct answer.